Hello and welcome to the Messed Up the Setups podcast. This is part two of a two-part interview. If you haven't seen part one with Ian and myself, go check that out. We talk about his journey into comedy, out of comedy, and back into comedy, which is pretty interesting. He also gives some insights and tips into his comedic process and whatnot. But today, in this episode, we're going to just talk jokes.
It's all messed up, yeah. Everything's messed up. We're going from this mess up to the next setup. Everything seems so messed up, but it's just our setup.
I've asked Ian if he's got a joke that comes to mind that he'd be willing to share, and maybe talk to us about the journey of that joke, and then we'll do some just sort of on the spot comedy. So, Ian, you have a joke you can share with us?
See, this is the hard part of the hook, I guess. It's so weird, when you do jokes on stage, my prompt is the previous joke.
Right.
Like, it's tough to just come up with, like say a joke out of the blue. I guess one of the jokes that I'm known for here is I guess my agriculture declaration form jokes. I guess I'll go ahead and do that and tell you where it came from. So,
all right. Yeah.
So it's great. It's great when you fly back to Hawaii, but they make you fill out this thing called an agriculture declaration form on the plane. It's where you have to declare your fruits and vegetable. Which, first of all, they could take one look at me and be like, Ian, you don't need to fill out this form. You obviously do not eat fruits and vegetables. That's the thing about this form is if you don't fill out this form, you can get fined up to $2,000 or spend up to a year in jail. But what they don't do is provide you with a pen. Instead, you have to count on the kokua of your neighbor. And I've worked in offices my entire life, people. And I know if you lend somebody your pen, you're not seeing that ever again, right? I flew, this lady next to me was eyeing me up. I knew she wanted to ask me for my pen, and I'm just thinking, you're going to jail.
Oh,
like I said in the last episode, 90% of my stuff is just what I wanted to say, not actually. But of course, I lend people my pen and stuff. So if you ever fly to Hawaii, come prepared with a pen because they make you fill out the form. And sometimes I forget the pen myself, even though I have a joke about it, and I feel terrible that like, oh my gosh, you have a joke about this and you forgot to bring a pen, and
Wow, I had no idea that you could get fined and put in prison for not filling that thing out.
Yeah, so I did research on that too. It's like, what are the consequences of not filling it out? And it is a fine, and it is like a $2,000 fine, and you can go up to a year in jail. And like, what's going on? It's just fruits.
I wonder if that's ever happened. I wonder if like anybody has really ever gotten locked up for not filling out that thing. I mean,
I wonder who would protest that. Like, just I'm not filling this out. I'm putting my foot down. Send me to jail. Like, who's like the Malcolm X of?
So, all right. So the joke's funny, and you got a few tags there. The self-deprecating bit at the beginning about we can tell you don't eat fruits and vegetables. That's great. So what was the genesis of the joke? Like, where were you when like it hit you that you wanted to write about this declaration?
I guess it's just something that everybody has to relate to when they fly to the mainland and they fly back to Hawaii. They make you fill it out, and it just comes to you sometimes. And I think the joke just started off as the end, which is somebody's wanting to use my pen, and just no, you're going to jail or something, and that always irritated me. I think when somebody would ask me like, how come you're not prepared? And it kind of just sprouted from there. And then I had to do research of what the consequences were if we didn't fill out this form, or what it was for, and it's evolved from there. So that's like maybe a joke that's about 3 years old now, I would say. I do it on most shows, especially when I'm on like the Blue Note stage, which is kind of our big stage. I make sure to do that. That's the tourists like that because they're always like, why do I have to fill out this form? They don't know when they're coming to Hawaii that they have to do that. So a lot of them can relate, and a lot of locals can relate because everybody has to do it.
Yeah, a tag idea. I know you like writing by yourself, but something that just came to mind for me on the opposite end of that, when you're going to the airport to leave Hawaii, you got to put your bag through that machine right by the curb, and you have to tell them if you have any plants or vegetables or seeds or anything like that. That could maybe at some point, be an add-on or a tag somewhere to that. But yes, you get to that coming into Hawaii and then also leaving. So
I
that's
told this joke to you. Sorry.
no. Go ahead. Yeah, go.
That joke because I found out from my dad that within the next 2 years, these forms are actually going to be online. So that joke is going to be obsolete within the next couple of years. So,
Wow,
yeah.
that seems like such a hassle.
Yeah.
Uh, maybe it won't.
Well,
Maybe it won't be totally obsolete though.
thanks to Elon Musk and that link or whatever he has now,
Starlink.
all flights are going to have Wi-Fi that you'll be able to go on and fill out that form. And I don't know who doesn't have a smartphone nowadays in order to be able to do that.
Well, yeah, maybe that's where it doesn't become obsolete. That now instead of like the pen, people are asking for your smartphone, and what are the consequences of like handing? You don't want to hand your phone over to some like greasy guy,
Yeah,
right?
that
And they start looking at your pictures while they're in there, or I don't. They break your screen. Like there could be a whole host of jokes that come out of that. So maybe it'll end up morphing and taking on like a different life of its own. So it's interesting because you started at the end with the pen thing, and then you did like pre-tags almost, right? So
yeah.
if that's the case, you worked backwards. I'm also struck by the fact that you actually did research. Um, and I think this is a really important point. So I'm a professor. I teach writing classes, and I get all the freshmen for writing one and writing two, comp one, comp two, and so I teach joke writing in comp one, right?
Mm.
And my argument to my colleagues, my department chair, as well as the students, is that writing a joke is very similar to writing an essay, right?
Mm.
You have to come at it from like a certain angle. You have to take a position, and you have to do your research to know what you're talking about, right?
Oh, definitely.
And so yeah, I love that you're doing actual research, and that gave you actually more information to work with, right? To punch up the joke a bit.
Yeah, I actually, a lot of the times I do start from the end. You think of the punchline first. I said in the previous episode, a lot of the things are things I wish I had said at the time, or had I been sassier or not me, just because I'm a nice guy in general, know what I would have said. And then you just work backwards kind of from there. You think of the punchline. Okay, what's the setup now? Because this punchline's funny, and how do you get there? And then if you have a longer setup, you have to put like little punches
Right.
in between there to keep people's attention, right? Like you can tell that I can't eat fruits and vegetable. That's a little punch in there,
Right.
Don't provide you with a pen. Everybody's like, whoa, that's true. Why don't they give you a pen with all these consequences? That's a little punch there, and then you get to the end where it's your final part of that joke, right? So
Yeah. I wonder too, like, what if they started moving the arrests to like upon landing, right? If you didn't fill that thing out, you like expect to come here and do your vacation, but you end up in OCCC or something like that. Um, so that's fun. Not trying to like necessarily add on your joke, but it's fun to like think about that.
but you gave me something to think about like, yeah, giving your phone to somebody else, so
Yeah.
if they bring that electronic form thing in, but that's just what my dad says, so don't quote me on that. It doesn't happen for like 5-10 years. That's his misinformation to me. So
Or you could even make a Hawaiian Airlines joke in there. They're moving it online, but unfortunately Hawaiian doesn't have screens. You could talk about they're moving it online, but the screens rarely ever work. Like you could get a dig in on Hawaiian there. I think,
oh,
yeah.
those
Oh,
screens too well, because I don't know. I remember one time I forgot to bring headphones, and I was just stuck watching some dancing hula lady for hours on my way to Vegas.
that's great. So I love that, man. I love hearing about the journey of a joke. How many times do you think you've told that joke or some version of it on stage to get it to where you said it's like 3 years old, but to like get it into its current form? How many goes do you think you had at telling that joke?
It took a few times, probably like 6 or 7 times, before I got it right. And I remember the moment I actually got it right, and it was we did a Valentine's Day show. It was men versus women, and I was on the men's team, and the I was up against this person named, I want to say it was, I forget who my female opponent was, but they would pull an idea out of a hat, and both of us would have to do a joke or something about it. And the idea that came out of the hat, or the word that came out of the hat, was pigeon. So we had to do a joke in pigeon. So I wanted to do nothing but Hawaiian jokes, and I had to speak in pigeon. And that was the first time that joke worked, was because I didn't have very many Hawaii-based jokes, and that was one of the few that I had in my back pocket. And it really hadn't done well until I did that joke in pigeon, and then it killed it. And luckily, I was recording that, so that's another thing everybody should do. Always record every single thing that you do or say on stage, because who knows when you're gonna get the wording right. So I wasn't even thinking about the wording; I was just talking, and then it just came out that way, and I've been doing it that way ever since. Just not in pigeon, though. So.
Okay. Wow. Interesting. Yeah, well, thanks for sharing that. I want to jump into just seeing if we can come up with some. We're both writers, obviously. I think we both have a very cerebral side to us, academic, intellectual side. So we love writing. I've really been trying to challenge myself to come up with stuff on the spot, too. Just in 2025, I've been trying to do a little bit of crowd work or roasting or whatever. But I've been designing like some tech tools to help me in this regard, and they're really just prompts. Like, they don't do the joke writing for me or anything like that. So if you're cool with it, let's see if we can come up with some jokes just on the spot.
Tell you that I'm terrible at this stuff, and that's because I'm an overthinker, right? So
that's all right. That's one of my favorite stand-up specials, is Dimitri Martin's Overthinker. That's a great. So let me screen share here, and I'll show you what we're gonna do. We could totally bomb this, or it might go well. We'll see. So if you guys watching or listening, go to michaelhalcomb.live, and if you scroll down on the right, there'll be a tab that says social. This is at least if you're on the web version, like the desktop version. And down at the bottom of the social, you'll see joke writing exercises. And if you click that link, it's going to open a new tab, kind of a sub website I've built. And here I'm just, I've created joke writing exercises. So in the left column, you'll see jokes from headlines, and you can, they're all timed, because when you're a comedian, you're timed on stage. These are timed rights, though. So 1 minute, 5 minute, 10 minute, or 15 minute. I got jokes from cliches, jokes from roasting. That's a fun one. And then jokes from lists. So we could pick any one of these jokes from cliches, or we could try a couple different ones. Let's just try jokes from headlines. And the way I've coded this, the way I've set this up, is I've got it tied to a handful of different news organizations. And so when I hit generate prompt, it may take a few seconds because it's got to go fetch the data. It'll generate headlines from these various news sources, and we'll have a minute on the clock to begin writing. Hopefully it'll fetch a headline here. It usually works, but it just takes a minute. So if you go to the other ones and do that as well, it'll generate like a cliche or two items in a list, and you can write from that. This one's delaying, so let me go try a different one. Let's try jokes from cliches. This one should work. So we click generate a cliche, and I have here about a list of like 3,000 sayings or idioms or aphorisms, and it doesn't look like it's working either. So this may be bombing for us, Ian. But they usually do work. So I hope it'll work here. And then I just built two recent ones. I guess I'll just go ahead and keep showing them here. Let me try one more time. Generate cliche.
That's a pretty cool thing you got set up there.
Yeah, thank you. When it works, this is error loading cliches. So something's going on with this. This one's hard. I just did a video on this. This is the unlikely comparison generator. And so what this is doing is you just click it and it gives you two words. In this case, like the words league and chance. And you hit start writing and you got 2 minutes. So you're trying to take these two words and form a joke out of the two words, like league and chance. I don't know. I went for um, the girl in my high school class, but she was out of my league. I don't know. I didn't stand a chance. Somehow we try to like formulate that into a joke. Here's one from roasting, and this one's cool. This is one of my favorite. The way this works, you hit generate a random image, and it gives you an image, and you just start roasting that person. So Ian, this looks like your kind of girl, the lady who works at the office. So maybe we could just do this one. We'll just do the roast. So let's see what we got. We can take turns seeing what we can come up with. But can you see that image pretty well, Ian?
I can.
Okay.
I think if I roast her, I will be in trouble with my girlfriend later on, though. So maybe we could do a different image to that one.
All right, here we go. How about this guy? Start. So this guy looks like he started for the Duke lacrosse team.
He looks like he wanted to be in a boy band, but they wouldn't take him.
This guy looks like he just left the military base in Wahiwa. What's the name of that? I forget that military base up there.
Oh, Schofield.
Schofield, yeah. This guy looks straight out of Schofield.
That's the face I have when I get rejected by a girl.
Let's see. I wonder where he crashed his motorcycle.
Oh, man. These are tough. We gotta go in the roast battles that we have in our scene,
Are there roast battles here in Hawaii? Does that happen?
We have 2 a year, and usually they're run by Mike Rayo and Jose Dynamite. But usually Mike Rayo, he gives Mike Rayo the lead on that. So I think he's trying to plan a next one. So find somebody that you feel that you can roast, and he'll consider that. Yeah. So
interesting. So let's see. Let's do another one here. We'll just I think it's a good exercise, right? To just come on and just, I don't know, you get this random thing. Here we go. Can we roast her? Good.
Sure.
Let's see. Olive oil in real life. Olive oil from what's Popeye?
Oh yeah, I could see it. I'm terrible at roasting, man. I don't even know who I see when everything that they would be mean and would get me canceled on you can't just be mean towards women anymore. Actually I did a roast battle against a girl in Virginia, and it actually went really, really well. They thought she would destroy me, but I ended up destroying her.
Nice.
I think what the joke that really did it was like when I roasted her, it was like if you want disappointment, start at her feet and slowly make her face.
That's you could have just done a version of that here.
The definition of a butterface, right? So, right. So
yes, if you here, that's a good one here. If you want disappointment, start at her chin and slowly look up. Or start at your double chin or whatever. Yeah, I was gonna say straight from the horse's mouth.
Nice teeth.
She's got nice teeth, big mouth.
Random generator going. I like the comparisons one. That would be fun.
Let's do it. The unlikely comparison generator. So let's see. Here we have you and rule. That's weird. Resist and leader. Let's do this one. We got 2 minutes on the clock. Resist and leader.
See, now you put pressure on us. Go, you first.
Okay. So I like to do this by just like writing out like ideas for person, place, thing. So resist, I think of like a police officer, or my wife. Let's see. Stormy Daniels resisting, and then so leader we have Trump. So here I have something brewing. My wife resists my advances harder than Stormy Daniels resists Trump's.
You're very good at this kind of stuff, you know.
So you don't have to use the two words in the comparison, like in the joke, but use them. You can, and if just use them as like to get you going. So yeah, what comes to mind for you here?
My brain is really resisting these prompts.
My
the,
brain is really resisting
the
talking jokes with Michael Halcomb.
stuff. Yeah.
Anything?
I don't know.
Get another one?
But let's see if I can.
Television and health. There you go.
Oh yeah. So I like I've said before, I binge watch TV a lot. Gotten a lot fatter because of it. You know. Another 2025 resolution is I went for a run this morning. So yeah,
Nice.
and I've been not turning on the TV. So I don't know what the joke is in that though, but But it is kind of like, the more that the TV is on, the greater the TV, the less my health, so.
Right. What about you? My New Year's resolution for 2025 is to exercise more. So this morning I went on a run to the TV. I don't know.
Lifting that remote weight.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
0.2. Yeah.
Got my reps in. Got my morning reps in.
Alexa has actually decreased my exercise because now all I have to say is, Alexa, turn on the TV. And
That's right. I ran to the TV. I didn't have to turn it on.
Yeah.
Alexa did it for me. Yeah.
Smart TV really decreasing my exercise right now.
So we have mouse and expression, where and join and reflection, high and book. Oh my. Conference and spell. Here's I don't know. See what we get here. Conference and spell. I went to a witches conference last week, and surprisingly, none of them could spell. I don't know. I went to a witches conference last weekend and came away with the skill of knowing how to spell. I don't know.
We actually have KawaiiCon coming up, which is the anime convention, and I guess half of the animes, all the women dress up like witches. I guess that's a big anime thing, and but I'm nothing for that. But
that's a good setup, right? So half the women who go to Hawaii's Comic-Con dress up like witches.
Yeah,
my wife goes, but she doesn't have to dress up.
Yeah, but most of them are single, so yeah.
Most of them are single. That's great. That's funny. Let's see, a refrigerator and spot. That's an interesting one too. Yes. Yeah. So what do we? I want to go back. I want to see if I can get the headline generator to work. I have a lot of fun with that one. But this one takes the longest to load because it's going out and fetching headlines from like 5 or 6 different news sources. Like I said, sometimes it takes a little bit of time for it to return the initial headline, but once it does, it tends to roll fast. So it doesn't look like it's going to work here. But
it's just going to be the Mangione guy like over and over again.
Yeah, right. Yeah, Luigi, man, he's still getting a lot of attention. Did you watch Dave Chappelle's monologue for Saturday Night Live last night?
No, I wanted to. I just saw the cold open. That's all that came up, but I haven't had time. See, once I turn on an electronic thing, that's all I'm going to be doing all day. Is like, if I turn on YouTube, then that's all I'm going to be watching is YouTube. Did he have a good Luigi Mangione joke?
He mentioned, he mentioned he had a Luigi joke in there. I can't remember what it was, but he also had Diddy jokes, and
Oh,
kind of like Diddy jokes have been like, overdone already, and like they kind of like played out. But man, he had a brilliant angle that I hadn't heard, and so he was able. I mean, he's Dave Chappelle, right? So he killed it.
yeah.
But yeah, he had a brilliant angle, and I thought it was genius. I mean, the way he does his comedy is so just admirable, and it's like something to try to attain to. He really, in a lot of ways, like kind of reminds me of like a sermon or something. Like the way he does it is just.
Actually, I got to be on a show with his partner from the Chappelle Show days. Neil Brennan actually comes to Hawaii a lot, and he's been on some shows. And I got a chance to be on a show with Neil Brennan. I guess it was the other half of Chappelle's show.
Amazing!
Cool.
Wow, that's really cool, man. Well, this was fun. I always have fun doing this, trying to just come up with some jokes on the spot. It's a fun exercise. So if you guys are watching, go check out that website. It's got a little couple kinks in it right now. I'm gonna go check the code and see what's going on with that. But
I thought it was pretty cool. If it's up and running, I'll definitely take a look at that, because that's we need all the prompts we can get sometimes if you're having writer's block, which happens from time to time for long periods. So
well, I love to. I'd never thought about it. And I don't know if you did this unwittingly or purposefully or whatever, but you kind of gave me a new angle to write from, that whole like afterthought angle. When I was a teenager, when I was a kid, my grandpa was a truck driver, and he wrote poetry all the time. And I inherited his little poetry books after he died. They're just like little notebooks, and he had a poem in there called Afterthoughts, and he's opining how much he hates an afterthought. Right? You wish that he would have just said it in the moment. And I think that's true for every single comedian, right? Like, every one of us, even just after the show I did last night, I'm thinking, man, I wish I would have said this. I didn't. But this idea of writing from an afterthought, what's a time that somebody did or said something, and I wish I would have said or done this, and then just build the joke backwards. That's a really good place to write from.
the audience only knows what you tell them. So they don't know that it was an afterthought and you actually didn't say it. So if you just come out right out and be like, yeah, this is what happened, they'll believe you because you're the one on stage. Power of the microphone, But I'm a terrible on the spot thinker. I have afterthoughts all the time. I should have said this. That would have been funny. I did improv a couple of times, and that was just nothing but regret. I felt I could have done this, could have done that. I'm sure after we get offline, I'm gonna think of a ton of things for like refrigerator and spot. And
you think of some good roasts.
But you should talk to Mike Rayo about roast battles, because he runs them along with Jose Dynamite and Comedy U. And who did I roast? I roasted Kanoa Morse, who's another comedian in our scene. That was the last roast, and he's a teacher, so I did nothing but all of the pedophile teacher jokes he would normally not do, and it was just nothing but that, and plus it doesn't help that he has like a mustache, right? So,
right. He's a pretty good roaster too. He comes up good roast right on the spot. I've seen him do that. So how did that turn out? Did he win? Did you win? How'd that go?
I destroyed him on that. It was I could write jokes on him. Like, I think one of my favorite jokes is like, Kanoa's students' favorite game is hide and go seek because it gives them the chance to hide. Favorite ones from that one. I actually came prepared for that. I had a bunch of pictures, and I kind of Dimitri Martin'd it too. So how it works is we had 5 rounds, and each round is like a minute and then another minute. Each person does a minute. So you end up doing like 5 minutes of roast material on the person, but it's fun. And it actually, a couple of times, roast jokes that I did during roast battles have made their way into a set of mine, So
nice.
I think one joke that I sometimes use is I had to roast somebody, and I roasted him and his girlfriend, and I had said, some couples are two peas in a pod. They look more like two potatoes on a couch. Now use that for me and Jasmine. Like when I talk about me and my girlfriend Jasmine on stage, I'm like, oh yeah, we're more like two potatoes on a couch, instead of two peas in a pod. So sometimes it can go into a
Nice.
regular
So
thing.
real quick, as we wrap up here, have you? So you're a writer. You mentioned you don't do a lot of sort of on the spot. Have you done any crowd work at all? Have you ventured into that territory or not really?
I sometimes try it, but I tend to stay away from it because when I do crowd work, I feel like I'm a detective interrogating a suspect or something. Were you on the night of January 12th, 2025, and then, yeah, I just, that is a muscle that I do need to work on more because, I headlined on the Big Island and I did some crowd work there, and I'm doing a 45-minute spot for Jose in June. I have another headlining spot in February for a guy named Pepper Land, but that's only 30 minutes. But when you get to like those 40 something minutes, 40 minutes of material, that's a lot of jokes
It
to tell.
is.
And if you do crowd work, it's a way to kind of just, do less joke time. And, it kind of gives the audience a chance to breathe a little bit
Yes.
where they're not just hearing prepared material for 45 minutes straight. So it is a muscle that I need to work on.
Yeah. I did an hour show last night. It's my first time ever doing an hour, and
Mm-hmm.
I did about 15 to 20 minutes of crowd work. I had a guy in the crowd who he was at a table with his wife and or his girlfriend and a son, but he had on like this bright pink sweater. He had on jeans with cupcakes on them. He had bright pink socks, and his shoes had neon laces. So he was like an easy target last night, and I got to sort of like toy with him for about 15, probably of my crowd work minutes, like 15 minutes total was like going back to him, I would say. And I got to come back to him all throughout the show, but it was really fun. That's something I'm trying to be really intentional about when I get the opportunity this year. So,
Yeah, if you can bring somebody in the audience that has a lot of friends, they'll love it because that's easy laughs with the friends right there. You
right,
got that group. So
right. Well, man, good for you. Thanks for sharing, and yeah, good for you, man. All the sort of comedy success you've got going on, and you're doing a lot of good stuff. So people, you can go follow Ian on Instagram at comedian Shippen, Shippen, right? Comedian Shippen, and you can check out at Michael Halcomb Live after that, or michaelhalcomb.live, the website, and you can go use those resources and whatnot. But man, Ian, thanks for taking some time out of your day here to chat, and
no, no,
I appreciate it.
thanks for having me.
Yeah, man. All right, y'all. We're gonna stop there and say we hope that helps.
It's all messed up, yeah. Everything's messed up. We're going from this mess up to the next setup. Everything seems so messed up, but it's just our setup.